Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites. Welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your hostess, femininity coach, and author of the Crimson Cure, and we're going to dive back into the feminist versus anti-feminist debate. They continue to be cooked. The way that they're even thinking about everything was crazy to me. But we're going to get back over. We're going to get back over to, hold on. Okay. So it was a part 2 to this. If you want to see part 1, that was the live stream that I did on Friday before the weekend. So if you want to catch up on all of my insights from part 1, you definitely can go back and take a look at that. So we're going to continue the thought, because there's a lot to be said about the lack of accountability, the lack of logic, and not wanting to sticking to talking points is problematic to me, because talking points, when you stick rigidly and dogmatically to a set of talking points, it doesn't allow for actual reality to hit you. This is why I don't like talking points and just sticking to a particular, it's got to be like this and it's got to be that way and it's got to be this and it's got to be that, because it stops you from thinking is what it actually does. So we're going to, I'm going to put my little thing up. So where it go? Here we go. So we can hear them talking. Shout out once again to Dr. Michelle Daff and our good sister Maggie, the substitute teacher, that didn't over talk anybody, but when she did, she was very powerful. What is this? Why is that extra earring on my earring? And what nobody gonna tell me that? Hold on. Just what nobody gonna tell me there was an extra earring on my earring. Y'all saw that in the audience, didn't y'all? Let me get this off here. Okay, here we go. The first prompt was, only women should make laws about women's bodies. We're not going to go through this entire prompt, but there were some thoughts that I had on it. So
you haven't spoken much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that if we want women to be able to vote on things like the draft, which affects men, which I don't think should exist, then I think that, you know, it's not a per se men's or women's issue. It's a human rights issue. It's an equality issue. I think that conversations about like who should be able to vote on abortion or something like that is like, I think a lot of people on my side fail to see that there is a genuine concern with people who are pro-life, because they do believe that the fetus is valuable, that it's similar to a baby. And I think if you have a serious issue like that, then I think all people should be able to vote on that. I don't know why it would be exclusive to like women particularly.
I'm going to say something controversial, but I think that men should.
Now, the lady that just got through speaking was on the feminist side. It was a lady with the glasses that hadn't been speaking a whole lot. And she kind of had like a little point. She was like, why would women's bodies, votes about laws surrounding women's bodies, be something exclusively that women vote on, but women get to vote on laws concerning war and the military and things of that nature, which affects men? Because women are not being pressured into or asked to enter themselves in the military in a combatant's role, right? Nobody really wants a military that's comprised mostly of women. Nobody's looking for that. Nobody asked nobody for that. So she makes a good point about that. Why would women then, if we're going to start saying that certain laws have to be regulated and passed only by certain genders because it affects them, then women, what they're not thinking about is there's a whole lot that women don't vote on then. If we just going to go down that rabbit hole of logic, but I'm not going to belabor that point. Matter of fact, we just going to let you be here. I'm not even going to put up the thing. We just going to let you hear it.
Step in a little bit more when it comes to laws, even more now, because like they were saying, like women are emotionally led. That's what I believe. I believe like right there.
I can laugh.
Well, it's just like it's just like so many reactions constantly. Yeah, it's emotions. Like men feel their emotions, but they can also conduct themselves. At least when I'm in rooms with them. Yeah, but I will agree with the violence, right? But I also say that women, they're making decisions on. I'll even go away from the abortion topic. Lip fillers. We see women from the media. They're getting injections everywhere. BBLs. They're putting their life on the line to get BBLs because that's the the propaganda or whatever they're putting out there. And so I just think that men should step in a little bit more to protect us. Like, yeah, you can make the decision to go out there and alter your whole body, but at the end of the day, those women are putting their life on the line to do that. So that's why I say I think our men should actually step in more when they see that we're destroying ourselves, like in that sense. And that's just kind of one example I want to give.
Maggie, you made a face.
Oh, I made a face because I was talking earlier. I do agree. You should let people fail fantastically if they want to. Sometimes people have to hit rock bottom, and I say let them. And I think that's how some people have to learn, unfortunately.
The reason I'm saying women should have more of a say on our bodies than men is just, if we look at history, men have had the only say on our bodies. They used to perform like gynecological operations on us in a room, a theater they called it, with just men. And like, can you imagine being a woman going under procedure, you're strapped to a table, and there's just a theater of men, and there's not a single woman in there dictating whether or not this is a good thing that should be happening. Like, we didn't have a say. We should have a say. We haven't had a say. We should.
And this is where you get that dichotomous linear thinking, the catastrophizing of thought, because nobody said that society needs to go back to a place where women simply did not have any say at all in the medical field about us or anything. Nobody's saying that that's what that needs to be, because when we talk about it from a medical standpoint, men can study women's bodies, but they're not women. And so therefore, they don't know how a lot of that stuff feels. They understand the science of it. They can understand the biology of it, but not necessarily how all of those things work together. Okay. So, and this is true right here as well. What needs to be said, the thing that isn't said, is that a lot of time, most of the time, this is done by Mr. Cartwright. He decided that women, and more specifically Black women, needed to be experimented upon and needed to be worked on without any anesthesia, not paying attention to the fact that women were in pain. I want to show y'all something, because we're not going to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak, with taking women completely out of the medical field. And to be fair, nobody said that. They always going to the catastrophic point. Nobody said that we're going to X women out of medicine, out of science, out of all of these fields that concern specifically women's health in ways that are different from men's health. All right. Our reproductive system works differently than men. Our endocrine system works differently than men. Our lymphatic systems work differently than men. It's our musculature systems. All of our systems, we have the same systems, but they work differently. Okay. So you would have to have the input of women to describe that difference beyond black and white, beyond what we can see on paper or what might be apparent, right? So I want to show y'all something. I want to try to show y'all something. The reason why women we're speaking up and the reason why we're not going to go back. That genie can't be put back in that bottle. And so feminists are once again fear-mongering about something that we can't go back. We can't go back. Nobody's gonna go back. I want to find a particular picture because speculums, I don't even know if men know, if all the men in here know what a speculum even is. Okay. But I want to show y'all what they were, what they looked like. These are ancient speculums. That looked like an old car part. Hold on. That looked like an old car part. Okay. That looked like an old part, an old gear shift or something. This is what they was putting inside of women to crank it, to open up the vaginal opening more so, to open the vaginal canal, which is what a speculum even is. Okay. Speculums are tools specifically used primarily for the obstetrics and gynecologists to perform pap smears and other kinds of tests and so forth on women. By opening the vaginal canal, they take a swab and they swab the cervix and things of that nature. This is what they was putting inside of women. Okay. This type of stuff. This is why it's not going back in. It's not going back. It's not going back. Nobody's going back. Nobody's going back to it. Okay. The reason that I wanted to show y'all that, was because those were the instruments that was used when women didn't have a say about what was going on. And because men don't have vaginas, they can't really wrap their head around how it feels to be penetrated by various things. Okay. It hurts. It hurts. It will hurt. It will hurt. It's easy to hurt it. Easy to hurt the vaginal canal. Very easy to lacerate it, to tear it, to hurt it, to damage it. Very easy. Okay. I don't know a man today in his right mind that can look at them can openers and say, you know what, I think that should go into a woman's vagina, even though he doesn't have a vagina. I don't know a medical doctor that thinks that would even be slightly, which is why they changed. One of the reasons why they changed what a speculum looks like. And thus what it feels like. They still uncomfortable, by the way. Okay, because most of them are still metal and they cold and they hard and they hurt. Just to let you know. Okay. My point in bringing up all of these things is that the fear mongering is one of the things I dislike about feminism and the way feminists talk about things. And they leave out key points. That was Mr. Cartwright and them. His whole thing. I told you historically they don't like women. They don't like women. They don't even really care what they do. This is why, and this is going to get to that point, why they started talking about feminism benefiting white women more than it benefited any other woman. Because they was going through there with Mr. Cartwright. He still takes them through there. He still do it to them. Okay? All that violence that they scared about, all that being trapped with these men and not having no way to get out and not having no financial nothing and not having no footing and not having no leverage and all, that's a legit fear that white women have about Mr. Cartwright. I say it's a legit fear from that man. Legit. They legit got a reason for that. They can go back into their history and see all the foolishness that their men are capable of when it comes to them as women. We don't have that history as Black people. I'm not here to say that our whole history has been roses and peaches and cream, but our men are not those men. So we have not had quite that same relational history with our men. Especially when we want to talk about in this country, Black Americans in this country. Okay? At no point in this country's history has Black men been in any position or expressed any real will to dominate Black women in the same way that feminism fearmongers women to believe that men will do to them if given half a chance and half a second to do it. We'll continue though.
We haven't.
I think so. One of the things that I take kind of with this romanticization of the past is if you look between the 1950s and now, almost every single marker of flourishing is up as women entered the workplace, as women entered policymaking. It turns out that all Western liberal democracies have given more agency to women, and they have consistently outperformed other countries that don't do this. And there's a reason for this, right? Which is that we're always better together. We're always better together. This idea that men are more logical than women, they just like, the reality is like the emotional landscape is like way more complicated than that. And good, wise decisions usually include emotions anyways, right? So men being less emotional would be bad for wisdom. And I don't think that men are less emotional. I think they're the same. And so every marker of flourishing has improved. I guess.
Yet another fallacy that I'm going to, men are not the same on the emotional landscape. They are not. Do they have a full range of emotion that human beings have? Absolutely. They get angry. They get sad. They get confused. They have anxiety. They get worried. They be ecstatic. All of that, they have a full range of emotion. That's not the argument. And it's a false argument if anybody makes that argument. However, what I would argue in difference between male and female emotional landscape is the intensity of these emotions. The intensity of these emotions. What the emotions mean to them. And how and if they are able to perform their actual duties as men. They cannot perform their duties as men in any real capacity if they had to have the amount of emotional output and the intensity of that emotional output that women have. Okay? We are designed to carry that. They try their best to not have, to make men and women the exact same, except in the most obvious differences. But when we come to psychologically the difference between men and women, the physiological differences, the mental differences, the emotional differences, they like to minimize those differences and they cannot be minimized. This is where the harm comes in at, trying to make everything flat humanity, and it's not.
What would your rebut to that?
I think they feel, I think that they feel emotions. I just think what I've noticed is that they not so emotionally reactive, unless if we look at the studies of like men that are in prison, they usually come from single mothers, from what I've seen.
I actually don't think there should be any laws on women's bodies. I think the only people who should be making decisions about what medical procedures a woman is receiving is herself, because she is an adult and can make choices for herself, and with her doctor, because those are the only people who should be making decisions when it comes to women's bodies. I don't trust men to take a list and go to the grocery store and execute that successfully. I certainly don't trust them to put laws on my body and execute that successfully. Women are dying in Texas because of laws on their body. A woman was strapped to a life support machine where a baby was forced to be made when she was only 6 weeks pregnant, and the baby is now severely disabled. And that was a law by man. I don't think that men should be making decisions. If they can't find the clitoris on image, I don't care what they think about my uterus, okay? Like, that's my opinion. No more laws on women's bodies, period. Women are adults. They can make the right healthcare decisions for themselves, along with their doctor, who is also in the right place to make healthcare decisions. Should lawmakers be making healthcare decisions at all? Hope not. Hope not. I don't really care what Mike Johnson has to say about my baby hole. So
she's real vitriolic, and it's the one on the end. Okay. It's the one on the end with the bedazzled boots. It's that one. She's the one talking. That one real hurt. Somebody need to ask her, who hurt you? Who hurt you, Bookie Bear? Who hurt you, Bookie Black? Because somebody hurt her religion, hurt her. She is damaged goods. Beyond feminism, she's damaged goods anyway. If you listen to her just talk or tell a little bit about her story, she's one flew over the cuckoo's nest for real. Like, that one gone. Okay, that one gone. But what she's referring to, I don't trust them, men, to go to the grocery store with a list and execute that properly. Again, she's talking about white men. There's a whole thing on TikTok about weaponized incompetence. And most of them TikToks is white men and women, where the men are on there not doing stuff purposely so that the women could stop asking them to do stuff. And the women are mad because they like, if I ask you to pick up something or I ask you to do something, why are you acting like you don't know what to do? Like, stop acting like you just don't understand simple stuff. Okay? She talking about Mr. Cartwright. Because that is not a complaint that Black women typically have about Black men, their husbands in their households, that their men don't know how to do anything. We don't have that complaint because most of our men, especially in my day, maybe the millennials, they mamas made them do stuff. He had to clean up. He had to do laundry. He had to go to the store. He had to do it. Wasn't no such thing as, oh, that's just what girls do. So you know, he didn't need to learn how to iron clothes, wash them, mop this floor, clean this bathroom, and take the garbage out, and go to the store and come back. With our men didn't get an opportunity to be, you know, where he's just oblivious to everything that is considered domestic work or women's work. Our men didn't go through that. That's not the upbringing of Black men. So when she's talking about weaponized incompetence, they need to be more specific. They are talking about Mr. Cartwright and the fact that he don't think his socks need to be folded by him at all. And in 50 years of marriage, he feel like he should never have touched a thing of laundry. That's white men that think if they marry 80 years, they've never been in that kitchen to cook nothing. That's white men. That's not typically Black men. That's not the majority of Black men. There are plenty of Black men know how to cook and enjoy cooking.
That's how I feel about that.
If you don't have them making any laws towards women and their bodies, then that means that you wouldn't have a doctor that could lawfully give you an abortion, right? So that means, because you're not, the baby just doesn't naturally die. If we put no laws on the book, then they wouldn't be able to give you an abortion.
If we didn't,
I'm going to fast forward this to the next prompt, which is white women benefit the most from feminism. And we're going to do that. Let me take a moment to do a real quick commercial break, read these super chats, and come back. Okay. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Because I need everybody to go to ashkicking.com. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you want your skin looking and feeling its absolute best, then you need the body butter that is on the screen right now. All right. The link, once again, is pinned to the top of the chat, ashkicking.com. If this is going to be your first order, please take advantage of the 10% discount using the promo code Crimson at checkout. All right. Once again, that link is ashkicking.com. Oh, you guys are bam, 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 bam. You got to hit the like button. Bam, bam. You got to go ahead and hit the like button. Let me get to the super chats. Thank you so much, Frederick, for the super sticker. And thank you, Hannibal, said we're making waffles and planning trips to Brazil before we worship God, while they out here saying we can't plan things. God protect me. Thank you so much. I appreciate the contribution as well. We're going to get into it because in this section that we're going to go over, Miss Maggie starts cooking them. Shout out to Maggie, the substitute teacher.
Sure.
I don't think any woman benefits from feminism, but I do agree if we're like playing into like, I don't know. I don't really like to, because I don't like feminism, I don't really like to even acknowledge any kind of like a benefit or anything, because I just don't agree with it as an ideology. But there is that race element to it. So.
Do you think being able to choose your career or wear pants or drive or vote or anything like that is something that feminism has brought about, or what do you think brought that about?
Well, I just don't. If I had to choose my womanhood or my motherhood over material gain, I would choose my
Well, I just want
womanhood
an
and
answer
my
to the question,
material.
please.
No, I think it's materialistic.
But don't you have all of those
But
things now?
that still does not answer my question. There's been a lot of non-answering questions here.
Let me answer it. The laws that have been on the books that have come about with women being able to have checking accounts, own things, inherent things without their husband's explicit consent about things was brought about by the movement of feminism. The answer is yes. Here's one thing as lionesses, and I got a little point about lionesses, and this is why I made the point earlier in the show about not liking talking points. Because it doesn't allow for us to be completely truthful. You can say yes to that. You can say yes to that. They did push for it. Under the guise and under the umbrella of feminism. They absolutely did. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. Because Islam said that during the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that women had the right of inheritance. Women had the right to own land. Women had the right to work. Women had the right to their own wealth and did not need their husbands to say that they could do it or say that they could have it. So like, for instance, if a woman is married and her father passes and he left an estate, she has a right, a stipulated right to X amount of that estate to be given to her. And she's not under any obligation to give it to her husband. If she want to keep that inheritance, whatever it may be, whether it's money, whether it's land, whether it's a home, whatever it is, if she want to keep that inheritance, because that's a right of hers that she received upon the passing of her father, then that's what it is. Y'all was late to the party. Feminists in America, y'all was late to the party. You can say that feminism brought that about. Just because we say feminism, under the umbrella of feminism, certain things was made into law that women like to enjoy, including anti-feminism women, that's not a knock on you being an anti-feminist. That doesn't change your stance, because we're still not ignoring all of the harm, which outweighs any good that the movement of feminism ever delivered. Of all its deliverables, the cons outweigh the pros. For a long term, the pros were actually short term. The cons are long term.
Because you guys are going completely off the prompt. The prompt is white women benefit more.
Yeah, we agree. Yes, they fucking do. But white women always come up before everyone else most of the time anyway.
That's just the thing. It's still, sorry to bring up race, but like white people in general. So if we're going to talk about women, yeah, did it benefit white women more? Of course it did. Because we still had to tackle the civil rights movement. It's human rights.
I see why you fight for it.
So I mean,
All of those movements are movements to get you to do things. It's not you thinking for yourself.
This movement was so that we could decide what we wanted to do.
Well, most of the stuff that
Freudian slip. Because feminism, I want y'all to hear it again. Hear the Freudian slip. Tell me what you heard.
Because we still had to
come up before everyone else most of the time anyway.
That's just the thing. It's still, sorry to bring up race, but like white people in general. So if we're going to talk about women, yeah, did it benefit white women more? Of course it did. Because we still had to tackle the civil rights movement.
What you mean by
It's
that?
human rights.
I see why you fight for it.
Who had to still tackle the Black civil rights movement? Who? What you mean by that? Who had to tackle the Black civil rights movement? To tackle something means to take it on, as in opposition to tackle a challenge, to tackle an obstacle, to tackle a problem.
So I mean,
all of those movements are movements to get you to do things. It's not you thinking for yourself.
This movement was so that we could.
This is going to, if you look at class-oriented stuff, generally poor white people will benefit significantly more on certain measures than other groups of people, right? This is just generally the case, in part because of just numbers. There's just more of them in that group of people, right? And because of that, you're just going to get more outshiners and stuff like that. You're going to get people who benefit maximally from it. So this is mostly a population issue. Yeah, there's more white women. So white women will disproportionately benefit from feminism. But I guess maybe I could answer Matrix about feminism doesn't confer any benefits because you don't like feminism. I think one of the issues, so one thing that happens on my tribe that I have a major issue with is we don't acknowledge any of the good things from the established institution, which they call patriarchy, that has benefited everyone, right? And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Feminism just has given you a credit card. I don't know what else it could even, nothing else is attributable here, right? It just did give you the right to vote. Right? It did give you these choices. And I get you don't like feminism, but unfortunately, that's what is to blame for these things. You can dislike feminism and still appreciate what historical feminists have done.
No, I can do what I want. I can not like it, not contribute to it, not be a part of it, not have a credit card, not vote. I can do that.
I just meant to be, I guess
No,
I
I'm
meant to be
just-
intellectually
okay,
coherent. You
cool.
have to, but it's fine if you don't want to. That's fine.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think what maybe these women feel is that maybe those things are important to you, but they're not important to them.
Right, but the thing is, the difference I think here between like maybe it's confusing for you guys, but feminists, I don't want to tell you what to do with your life. I genuinely don't care what you do. If you want to have a baby, I want you to have. Actually, if you want to have a baby, I want you to have a baby because those
Lies. The disingenuous level of lies. Y'all do be trying to tell people Y'all do try to tell people what to do. It's a reason why feminism and hyenas have the microphone so loudly. Because when other women say we don't like that and we don't want that and we don't want to participate with all of the foolishness that has come along with it. See, we're not gonna not recognize that. Just because you was able to get a credit card, what that got to do with hoe culture? You was able to get a credit card and go to the bank, but what that got to do with y'all man hating and lying on men and doing the Me Too and do what that got to do with that? What was that? See, we're not going to not recognize all the foolishness. We're not gonna throw it under, we're not gonna sweep it under the rug like it's not currently going on. We're not gonna sweep under the rug that with feminism, y'all brought the rainbow crew with you and normalize that to the best of your abilities. When you talk about women's health care, all y'all talk about is deleting babies. What other parts of healthcare do it matter? What other parts of healthcare matter? Just that? Because y'all want to be hoes? Because we can't ignore the result. My body, my choice, my sexual freedom, my sexual liberation. I don't have to be held to any particular standard about what makes a good woman, what makes a valuable woman, what makes a worthy woman, and what differentiates us. I don't have to abide by any of those rules. So what I get to do is I get to have this maximum amount of freedom where there's zero restriction and y'all just got to deal with it. As if that makes sense. For those of you who are in the chat who are aware of which stream it was, because I forgot what stream it was, do me a real big favor and go and find the link to Hamp's show where they were talking about feminism and Sherelle was voicing her opinion about what women were fighting for. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Put a 1 in the chat if you know which stream I'm talking about. And I need one of my mods to do it, because if you're not a mod, it's not going to let you really post that link. Okay, Thanos. If you're able, Thanos, can you find that for me and post that link in the chat, please? Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you, sweetheart. Maggie gonna get ready to cook them in a second. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit.
Sad, like traumatizing lives. And so even when they take like anecdotes like of other women's lives, it's always a highlight on like these terrible things. And it's like, why can't we teach women how to be happy, how to, submit and enjoy that, how to appreciate what their body can do? Like, I don't understand why that is something that's shunned, because y'all's faces are turning. So that's what I'm trying to say is like, why is it always, why are all the bad stories amplified? That's what I'm curious about, because that's not every woman's story. That's not every woman's experience.
No, you're right. It's
not. No good story comes from everything going right is a quote that I've heard that I think maybe might answer that. But with back to the prompt, we all agree feminism benefits white people, white women the most. How do we actually bring everybody else up? Is there any people that disagree with feminism? Like, how do we bring everybody up?
I think we bring up our community by turning towards each other instead of against each other. And I think if you look at it as a balanced approach, I'm not going to deny the fact that women can work, we can vote, we can own, we can do all those things. But I think it is foolish to only look at that and not look at the harm that feminism has caused, especially minority communities. I'll speak as a Black woman. Black women get married at 1/4 the rate. And that is not helping our community because we're going against our men, and our communities are stronger because we are better together. So I think when we promote healthy families, when we promote the nuclear family, when we promote husbands and wives, moms and dads, boys and girls, that is how we get better. Feminism is not going to make us better. Feminism is actually making our community worse.
I didn't know that feminism equals like not getting married at a higher rate.
And the disingenuous. That was our good sister Maggie. Thank you so much, Thanos. I'm gonna try to find the timestamp when she starts talking because it's pertinent to this conversation. But that was our good sister Maggie, who talked about the adverse effect that feminism had on the Black community, the Black family, and the relations between Black men and women. Oh, I didn't know that feminism had anything to do with the marriage rates. That's because y'all are not real feminists. The majority of white women, let's break that down. The majority of white women feminists on paper. They feminists when they want to talk crap. But when you know what I'm saying, the chips have to fall where they may, they go to their women. They go to their men. And they go right back underneath that same patriarchy that they get out here and talk crazy about. That's why she don't know that there's a difference in the marriage rates, because their marriage rates may have dipped, but not because they don't listen to their men. Their marriage rates may have dipped for other reasons that might be exclusive to their community. And I'm not going to say feminism didn't take a bad toll on them at all, because you got white men on the internet also talking about how feminist white women are. But at the same time, they'll go and get married still and be like, you know what? I'm going to do what, you know what I'm saying, my husband say, and I'm going to be a trad wife. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and all that. And they'll be talking all that smack to their husbands. Black women are feminists at heart. That's the difference. Black women are feminists at heart. They took that personally and ran with it. So all of that misandry that undergirds and supports the concepts of feminism, Black women took that personally, and they executed within the community and within the interaction between Black men and women, as it was designed by the CIA PSYOP. We're not going to forget about that part. It was a PSYOP. It was a psychological operation that worked like a charm. So white women talked smack. Black women took it and ran. And that's why the Black community suffered more than every other community. Because the psychological overturning of Black women's minds actually worked. And they began to perpetuate it to their offspring. This goes all the way back to the so-called Willie Lynch letter. See, Black people, Black Americans have already been preconditioned. There was a foundation already set there that allowed for this level of PSYOP to take place and be successful. The fact that many of us Black Americans in this country have ancestry that came through slavery, those colonization mindsets and the seeds have already been planted there. The seeds had already been planted. So all they had to do, thank you so much, 245, thank you so much. So all that they had to do was come with a different kind of brainwash that would be that would coincide with the seeds that had already been planted. That's why it was so successful and continues to be. That's why it's so difficult to wake Black women up about it. It goes deeper. See, white women in this country never went through that. I don't care what they went through with Mr. Cartwright. He didn't have them out there on that plantation breaking their wheel. He didn't do that to them. So they can almost take it with a grain of salt. They can pick up feminism and put it down as it suits them. They didn't internalize it. Black women internalized it on the whole. I'm going to find, let me see. You mean at the 2 hour and 45 minute mark? Did I get that right? 2 hours and 45 minutes, right? Okay.
Right. So when you look at Reconstruction, what you're saying would be emphatically untrue. What you did see is the things they created to try to put us back in captivity, like loitering laws, soliciting, things of that nature, right? Which would, because we didn't have access to anything, they could say if you're loitering, right, vagrant laws, because you had 2 million people that had nowhere to go, then you did see people get remanded and you could be put back in chains per the 13th Amendment if you are a captive of the state, right? You see that type of stuff that happened. When you look at Black people, we did well right after that, right? We did well up to and during like the right, even under Jim Crow, Black people were together. We had our own stuff. When we start to see with the desegregation, we start to lose a lot. They also start offshoring where a lot of our men actually work those jobs. And then you start to see us kind of crumbling that thing. Also, what does hurt us is when people following feminism and things of that nature, now you have no fault divorce where families are disbanding, and then you start to get to the crime when you start to get Reaganomics and things of that nature, which is what you're talking about. But you got to go 100 years before we get there.
Okay, so I understand that. I'm not clueless on history. What I'm telling you is there are people who say in 2026 right now, Black people commit more crime, and you know what we should do? Take their freedom away, right? Because if they were still underneath our thumb, they were still underneath our rule. There are racist people who feel like, hey, this is why we didn't want to let y'all free. We knew it would take y'all 100 years to get here, but we knew eventually y'all motherfuckers would get here. We didn't want to give y'all too much freedom because we knew y'all would get here, right? Because the people who did the poor things, but what about the Black people that did amazing things? I'm not about to keep on making groups of people suffer because the worst of them. I don't want women to suffer for the worst of us. No,
but Sherelle,
let the worst of us suffer within their consequences that they make. There's consequences for being a hoe. There's consequences for all of that. Let them suffer for it. But we're not going to stop the greatest from going up because the bottom wants to do what the bottom does. The bottom will always exist.
Okay, but what practically, because I can hear you conceptually, but I want to know what practically are women fighting for, and that this sisterhood is fighting for. Like, what is it to earn $100,000? Like, I want to know what is it that these women are fighting for, that you advocate that they should be fighting for and doing whatever to fight for it. That's what I'm trying to understand.
The simplest way, because I keep saying autonomy, maybe you don't understand that. To be. That's women's fight. To be.
But what is stopping women to? I don't see anything. I think we are the freest.
This is it, right? This is it. The fact that women won't support other women because of what a man says. The division, the judgment, the shame that comes along with me not wanting to be like you. So you think that you can make me feel less than because I don't want to fit into a box or a status quo. What you want to do? Womanhood is womanhood. And it's sad that a lot of times women don't understand womanhood is bigger than motherhood. Womanhood is bigger than wifehood. You limit womanhood to what you want to limit it to. You just said the other day, that if you're not a mother, then what are you living for? What are you want to put parameters on what a woman's being is, and a woman wants to explore her being. That's what women have been fighting for fucking centuries, bruh. They've been fighting for their own being, and I'm not going to tell them to put their weapons down to stop fighting. Not when my ass is up here sitting here benefiting from their fight. No.
Can I clarify something?
And here is where I have to disagree with Sherelle. Shout out to Sherelle, because this is not some type of, indictment on her as a person. But I disagree strongly with what she's saying. To just be. Nobody can just be. That's the whole problem with the argument. No one gets to live in this world, male or female. It's not just women. Male or female. We don't get to live in this world without restriction, without judgment, without shame, without having to abide by some aspect of the social contracts, the unwritten social contracts. We have several unwritten social contracts that are there to make sure that we don't fall into anarchy as a society and as a civilization. It's there to keep it civil. Is it perfect? No, but it's there to keep it civil. The reason why women can walk down the street at any time of the day or night alone and maybe go to the grocery store, or if she have errands to run, or go to work and come back, or what have you, and have a reasonable expectation that she can actually do that without dying, is because of these various social contracts. Are there people out there that would accost her? Sure, but there are also people out there who would accost another man. Let's not act like men don't do this to men. Because if you got a guy that's off his rocker, or he got something to prove, or whatever his problem is, he just violent, he just angry, he just, whatever, he liable to attack anybody that he perceives is weaker than him or may be unable to contend with him. We cannot just be. We cannot, because we have to have, we are all here. The human being is a social creature. We social. We have social hierarchies. We have social groups. And our existence is in many ways relative to other people's existence, because we don't exist alone. We don't exist in a vacuum. If you wanted to exist in a vacuum, then you would have to take yourself somewhere else outside of society, to a remote place where you just live on your own. But even if you were to get women together who had that same concept, that we just want to be free and pretty much lawless to a certain degree, we don't want to have any restriction, or we don't want to have any kind of parameters put in place to dictate how we're supposed to behave, or what's socially acceptable and what's not, things of that nature. Even if you were to put all of those women together in a place, they would attempt to create a social contract among one another. They would just do it. That's how humans work. That's how human beings work. We're going to let her expound on her point.
Yeah. So when I made that point about motherhood is not promoted. Motherhood is not something that women are looking in the general and in the general population as a high regard. That's why I made that comment, because generally what is women are pushed to is independence, make your own money, be a boss. They're not pushed towards stay at home, get a husband, have children, be a good mother. That's not the overwhelming arching message. That's why I said that. Not all women are meant to be mothers or should be mothers, or is the highest thing. But if a woman does seek to be motherhood, yes, that should be the ultimate goal above everything else. If you are a mother, especially in the younger years. I'm no shade to not, I know not all women are not going to be mothers, and there's no knock to that. But my problem is when it's regarded as less than, or that your career should be more than being a mother, that should take top priority, and motherhood should be maybe third or fourth.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, the new paradigm, because
real quick, before you go there, Coco defended her point, but you said women just want to be. It's a platitude. That's a platitude. I need you to tell me what they're fighting for.
Because I just told
give
you
me give me one thing.
Women are fighting for their autonomy. To be autonomous beings.
Like what are they unable to do?
Whatever they want to do without judgment, right? So
judgment will never be erased. That's unrealistic, right?
So it's unrealistic.
Yes.
What we're doing today is unrealistic, huh? The way we exist today, 100 years.
What she wasn't able to see. Thank you for the cash out. What she wasn't able to see or recognize in this moment that Hamp is the thing that Hamp is trying to convey to her is that what you are saying has no basis in reality. And sorry to say, it does not. It does not. Saying that women are fighting for their autonomy is not a practical thing to say, because it simply does not exist. Men do not also have their own autonomy. They don't. And let's go a little bit deeper, because to say that women don't have their autonomy and that women are fighting for it is to automatically say that all the men have something that women don't have, and maybe it's natural or maybe it's unnatural that they have it, but they have it, which is a roundabout admission that men are better than us, or they occupy a higher station. If you don't like the word better than, let's just take it to that men occupy a higher station. But men occupy higher stations among each other too. We have autonomy every human being has autonomy in the sense that we have choices to make in our lives, and we are at liberty to make those choices. Whether those choices end in bad outcomes, good outcomes, or whatever the consequence may be, we have a choice for that. The only human beings that's living in a healthy environment that don't have complete autonomy is children. Children do not have complete autonomy, and it's fine. They can live in a healthy environment and relationship and not have that until they reach an age where they can make certain decisions on their own, and then they don't need their parents' permission or things of that nature, strictly speaking, in order to do something. Now, if you have a cultural things or religious things, parameters or social things and those things are not acceptable in your environment, that's not acceptable in your country, it's not acceptable in your family, it's not acceptable within your friend group, then those are things that we are subjecting ourselves to willingly, because most people think that it's a good thing to have a certain kind of religion and submit to that. Okay, submit to the parameters of that, or it's they feel like their family is looking out for them, so they submit to, even though they may be an adult, they submit to what their mother and father want them to do, even in their adult life. But that's neither here nor there, to be honest with you. in terms of this conversation. You cannot be completely free. You cannot. There's no such thing. Because there's always consequences. That's why you can't be free completely, because there's always consequences. And those consequences can be earthly or consequences in the afterlife, or consequences spiritually, or consequences physically. We live in a society that actually has laws on the books that tell you what you can or cannot do. Break one and see what happens. Break them, because you're doing what you want to do. And she didn't explicitly say that. She didn't say we should be able to break the law and do illegal things. But who made up the laws? Especially when we talk about the law of the land, the law of man. Men got together for the most part and made up the laws. You can't be going in and out of folks' houses uninvited and all that kind of stuff. You can't be, you know what I'm saying? The thing that I think that she's really saying, which is even more unrealistic, is that speaking from the aspect of actual womanhood, that we should be able to explore the depths of our chaotic nature without fear of reprisal, consequence, judgment, and shame. And that is not real. It's dangerous, as a matter of fact, because that opens up not only the good that we are capable of, but also the evil that we are capable of. Because if men were to say they wanted the freedom to explore the evil of their nature, we are all in trouble. We're in trouble. Neither women nor men are allowed to explore the depth of everything that we are capable of within our natures, because it is bad for business. Bad for the business of humankind. We will not make it. We won't make it. If either the woman or the man decides that we don't need any constraint on our natures and what all of that nature entails for us, everybody's in trouble. We might as well just count the days, because we're going to go extinct. Because if men on the whole decided, let's just say, if men, specifically men, not mankind, men, decided to explore the other side, for all of that stuff we say men are noble and they have integrity and they got honor, good, they got another side to their nature that's not any of those things. The evil side of male nature is comprised of things like tyranny, predatory behavior, abuses, oppressions. That's what it's comprised of. And society would equally fall if the majority of men decided that all those social contracts, out with them, and literally come to a survival of the fittest type of situation. Everybody in trouble. Whole world gone. Next week, boom.
years ago is unrealistic.
Judgment never ceased is the point I'm
Okay,
making.
so what I'm saying is, nobody's gonna, the people who are fighting for better days, they don't put in their minds that it can't get better. That's not how they ever arrive to better. We don't arrive to better by thinking that there could never be better.
Okay, I judgment is judgment, right? Good or bad is if you care about the person judging you. So that's inconsequential. I'm asking, what are women being stonewalled from doing or achieving or trying, right?
Just being down, even if they want to be a hoe, even if they want to be a career woman, even if they want to be a wife, there's certain levels of scrutiny and shame for women just being, right? So the flip side of this whole idea of being a mother is not, yes, that is toted in society. Being a mother, being a wife is the highest point in society.
That's the standard.
There is a
no, and I have to disagree with her again. And you're right. We love Relly. That's my Relly belly. Again, this is for all of the messy people in the back. This is not me shooting at her. She has her thoughts on it. I simply disagree. What Sherelle just alluded to in that just these last few moments of her speaking, women are not stopped, strictly speaking, from engaging in illicit sexual behavior or being hoes or being women who work in what she's talking about is the stigma needs to be removed from the different choices that women make, that there should be no stigma, no negative stigma attached to certain behaviors and certain life choices that women may make, even if those life choices end up bad for her. Whether people judge it or not is immaterial, because they're going to judge you whatever you do. That's almost like saying if a woman decides to do, quote unquote, be a purebred, and she's the innocent virgin until she gets, but she do everything, quote unquote, right. It's going to be somebody, a rather large group of people actually, that's going to think she a weirdo. And why she do that? I gotta disagree with you there. Saying any female that gets pregnant and gives birth is a mother, so motherhood can't be the pinnacle of anything if any female can do it. Not true. Any woman that gives birth has given birth. Being a mother is not birthing. And we can argue that that's semantics, but I assure you that it is not, because there are women who never gave birth and are wonderful mothers. And there are plenty of women who gave birth and they should not have. So being a good mother is the pinnacle, one of the pinnacles of womanhood. It's not, motherhood is not a pinnacle for men, because men are not mothers, men are fathers. A good mother is nearly priceless for somebody to have, because a bad mother can set you back for nearly your whole life trying to overcome the foolishness that she put you through, and stupid environments that she had you in, and goofy mindsets that she instilled or didn't instill. She's almost done, and we're almost done.
a new paradigm of people breaking away from that pattern. But understand this, America is not the only women. America is not the only women.
Talking about the United
What
States
I
of
say,
America.
this is a world stage that American women have to fight on for women in the world.
Come back.
Okay, so
Come back.
so
Hold on,
even-
y'all, real
so
quick,
even-
y'all. Come back. I hear it. You and the other nigga with the deep voice that give inspirational speeches and the pastor nigga, y'all are great at this shit.
Conviction.
Well, when I'm asking actual questions, I do need and I'm asking for and requesting actual answers, right? So judgment is not going to go away. Even when men whoremonger, they get judged, even though society typically doesn't admonish them to the same degree as a hoe, right? But if you're saying she can be a hoe and she can still get married, you're saying that she can monetize her wholeness in a plethora of ways, up to and including in places like Las Vegas, where she can literally be a prostitute legally. She can have kids and still be supported at the very least by the government, which would show actual autonomy because it's being allowed by the fact that there's governmental programs, right? Where she can have a kid and not worry about it because she can gain several different subsidies because of it. You know, so I'm trying to figure out at what realm, even they have different. So like for the the COs, the women have different parameters than the men. To be a police officer, the women have different parameters than the men. To be a fireman, the women have different parameters than the men. So it's quite literally been made to where you can do this also. The uptick in women being CEOs was great during the George Floyd era for Black people and women. You know, DEI benefited women mostly, especially when you include white women. So I'm just trying to figure out who's being pigeonholed to what. I understand the platitude, but you're gonna get judged. It's unrealistic not to say nobody should judge me. That need to be thrown out as a point.
Okay, so what
Okay,
my main answer is autonomy, right? Autonomy for all women.
Don't tell me
That's
again.
that's the fight of the sisterhood. And what I'm saying is, yes, we have these things, these social things. Women did that. Women ain't no scrubs in this fight for our revolution, and I would never allow.
The point was overshot. Hemp was giving a practical, real world example about the fight that women said, feminists said they wanted to be included in these various parts of society. I will argue that women did need to be included in certain parts of society. Women needed, for instance, women needed to come into the medical field, like we were talking about earlier. Women need to be doctors. Women need to be physicians and nurses and things of that nature because of women coming into needing medical care. And sometimes you want a woman to give you that care, especially if you have certain cultural restrictions. I know that as a Muslim woman, we prefer where it is possible for us to have female doctors, particularly when we start talking about gynecology and things of that nature, because of the modesty restrictions in Islam. It is not ideal for me to be covered from head to toe in the street and then get in a doctor's office for some strange man to be digging in my hoo-ha. Okay. This is why I don't advocate in any society where the women are not educated and are not allowed to go into certain fields, because we need the women to go into certain fields. Everything can't be 100% dominated by all the men all the time. It's just not real. Okay. Now, with that being said, just to clarify for people, as a Muslim, if there is a medical emergency or something like that, and there's only men, then we are, of course, allowed to be attended by male physicians. Okay. So there's always a balance in Islam. You don't have to die because there are men who might attend you. And so you can't have a man to touch you under even emergency situations. And so therefore you just got to pass away because it's a man. but we do prefer women where we can get women. So it's important for women to be present in these fields so that they can be requested. You know, if I go in for a mammogram, I don't want no dude fondling the girls. I mean, I'm not comfortable. You know, so if we are in situations, it's not a medical emergency, you know, or anything like that, we want to reserve the right to request female physicians, nurses, and attendees if we can do that. And other delicate or intimate settings where it's like, I would just prefer a woman for this. And then for women, we can talk to her. A woman gynecologist know exactly what I'm talking about. Because not only has she studied it, she can relate because she live it. So if I go to her and say, girl, these menstrual pains and these bloating, she know exactly what I'm talking about. She don't have to guess. It's a lived experience to her. A man, I can explain it all I want to till I'm blue in the face. It's not a lived experience for him. Even if he have empathy about it, it's not a lived experience for him. So he might not even take it as seriously. I'll just take a couple of Tylenol. You don't understand, sir. Tylenol is not going to make me walk through here and not want to Bart Simpson choke everybody. Do you understand that? Do you understand that I will turn into Freddy Krueger? Do you, please? And that ain't no nap gonna do it. Taking a nap, that's not gonna do it. You walking the edge. I'm in the office with you. You locked in here with me. I ain't locked in here with you. You understand that? Do you get that part? Trying to be a human being. And you gonna help me or not? Okay. So Hamp is talking about things like police officers, things like firemen and things of that nature, which I personally do not agree with women being in those fields specifically because of the physical and mental demand and emotional demand of those things. I don't think women should be firemen. First of all, who's she carrying out this building? Who? She's always going to need the support of the men that she is in company with, her colleagues and her co-workers. And then the mental strain and emotional strain, because firemen don't just answer calls about fires. They answer EMT calls and all kinds of different calls. And so they may enter upon any kind of circumstance and it bother them. Like they be having to go to therapy and, you know what I'm saying, and all that kind of stuff because it bothers them. How much more emotionally fueled is a woman to have to see or go through certain things, or these experiences are pretty much traumatic, especially if you actually got to run into a burning building for real. And you might have to go in there a couple times. Police officers need that. They need that natural authority. They need the physical strength. They need the ability. They need the mental fortitude, the hardness, the ability to sort of switch them emotions off right now so I can do this right here. And women, we don't really have. We have it, but in order to work towards a place where we switch our emotions off, that doesn't come as naturally to us as it comes to men. And so we have a hard time with that. So I disagree with women being in certain fields, but to Ham's point, they were invited into these fields, including in the military. But here's how you know that women don't belong. They had to lower their standards so that women could actually qualify. Because if they left the standard to what it is, those standards were weeding out the weak men from the strong men, because it's men that cannot go and pass that fireman's test. They can't do it. From a physical standpoint, they can't do it. Baby, you light in the behind. You can't do this. I'm sorry, you can't do it. Who you lifting? He ain't got the physical endurance either. He can't run with all that equipment up 5 flights of stairs and 10 flights of stairs nonstop. Don't stop and take no breather. Keep going. These people is dying. You can't stop and drink you no water. You got to get up there. And so having to lower the standard so that women could qualify is problematic, because the standards are what they are for a reason, to weed out those men who were actually mentally and physically capable of handling this job. Because they put you through psych evaluations, they put those men through all types of mental evaluations. It's not just their physical bodies, it's their mental capacity to do it, because there are men who don't have the mental capacity for that. Everybody ain't built the same. He you know, once he see the fire with the building and feel the heat, he got to open that door. It's some men, nah, y'all got it. Y'all got it. We good. So how much more rare is it for a woman to be able to qualify under those conditions? This is not a knock on women, and this is what feminists would have you believe, that these are knocks on women. That women are somehow stupid, or they are just, they not worth nothing, just because we are not equipped to do some of the same things that men do, especially to the capacity that they do it. This is why I don't like feminism, because it automatically assigns an inferiority complex to women, and it makes them feel bad about being women. And that's what I don't like. Feminism makes women feel bad about being women. You got to feel bad about having an emotionally driven way to do things. So they got to try to make it equal. Oh, well, we got just as much logic as men. No, we don't. Are we just completely illogical? No, we aren't. Men aren't even completely logical. Please tell me y'all have heard men sit there and talk some stuff and it be completely off the wall. And they swear to God they being reasonable and logical. And absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not. Your logic off, my guy. Feminism make women ashamed to be women. They make women ashamed that they don't carry some of the same traits and things of that nature that men carry. And somehow that is to be looked upon with derision. And they projected that the men dislike the women because the women are not men. We don't think the same. We don't react the same. We don't behave the same. I, for one, will never be ashamed to be a woman. Because there was a time in my life where when I was young and like in my 20s and stuff, that I didn't really like being a woman because of those things. And I realized as I got older that was a feminist programming to make me not like myself because I was a woman. Well, why come women can't be as strong? And why come women can't be as logical? And why come women can't, you know what I'm saying, do certain things the way that men do them? And well, men do it better, so that means that we do it worse, or we're bad. Men are good, we're bad. And I had to get over that, because you just have to accept what womanhood is and actually accept the good of womanhood and stop trying to compare it to manhood. Because nobody likes to hear that they're less than. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody actually likes to face that. What you mean? But it's a fact. Quote unquote, trying to be equal. The thing that feminists are fighting is they're fighting biology, and they're trying to fight God to be the same thing that men are, which expresses a complete dissatisfaction and disdain for womanhood itself. For all of that touting of womanhood, they actually think that they would prefer to be men or to be just like men, and that doesn't serve anyone. Women will never be men. And the faster you accept that, the better off we can move forward with moving in the right direction. Women are not men. Stop trying to want to be men, because I guarantee you men don't want to be us. I guarantee you that. For all the hardships that a group of men can sit down and run down to everybody about the hardship of manhood and everything that go with manhood and all the problems and this and that. If you say, well, do you want to be a woman? No. Absolutely not. Well, I thought it was problematic. It ain't that problematic. I'm all right. Because think about it. Every insult to a man is something feminine. They don't want to be women. Every insult to a man, the B word, he a P, he a hoe, you crying like a girl, you acting like a woman. That's the worst thing in the world for them, is to even be associated with being a woman. Worst possible thing. Any type of feminization of them is the worst possible thing you can do to them. It's usually always fighting words. They have no inclination to be women at all. So stop trying to be men. but women take it as a slight. And the reason that many women take that as a slight is because it's like, well, what's wrong with me? So being soft is bad. They don't equate it to men don't want to be soft. They equate it to, well, being soft is bad. Being emotional, bad. Crying, bad. That's how women interpret that. And a lot of women interpret it because our being is relative to y'all. It's not standalone. Y'all's ain't either, but we was created second for a reason. So anything that men come to a consensus and say is not good, women are gonna hear that and be like, and internalize it. I'm not saying that that's right or that that's the correct way to do it. It's just that's just the way that it is for a lot of times. Not every time, but a lot of times. Women have to kind of train themselves out of that. But this is the very thing that feminism play upon. I'm trying to get y'all to understand the interplay. That it's that feminism play upon on women. It's not actually real, but they'll internalize it anyway. Well, something must be wrong with me. Not thinking that a man don't want to be a woman, just like a woman, generally speaking, don't want to be associated with a man, like in her mannerisms or in her look. Like if a man say to a woman, you look like a man, like your face and like your body, you real manly. Like a woman would be like offended, like, I don't look like no man, because that's not a compliment. It's not a compliment. Like, no, your shoulders big. Your shoulders big, sis. Like you got, like you broad in the chest, like not in a good way. Like your back big, sis, not in a good way. It's not. Because we be looking at them female bodybuilders that be taking all that stuff and then they be ended up looking like dudes and all that kind of stuff, all real big and everything. Women and men be looking at them like, no. A whole using that as an example. You got a whole section of women that don't want to lift no weights because for some reason they think that they can look like that. Real big, like, I don't want to be big like no man. You'll hear a bunch of women that don't lift weights. That be the reason that they don't want to lift them. I don't want to be big like no man now. I don't want them kind of muscles. She don't want to do it. And I don't know no man that takes that personally. None at all. Not one. What you mean you don't want to look like a man? He don't want you to look like a man. Because he's going to talk about you if you do. So don't internalize that. Men don't want to be feminized. And they don't want feminine traits like that. That's why it's an insult for a man to call another man a B, or for a woman to do, for anybody to do it. You a BAN. They go, what? Like, who you talking to? He instantly get mad. I just want to say that for women who are lifting weights naturally, you don't have what it takes to get big like men. You don't have the testosterone. Our biology will not allow us. We would have to be achieving that look by some artificial means. Our biology just does not allow us to generate that amount of muscle mass just from working out consistently. Men can do that. They consistently work out. They can get a lot of muscle mass, some more than others, because other men are bigger than other men, but they can get that muscle mass together. They can go from real fat big backs to real muscular in a shorter time than you will as a woman, just because they have testosterone, and that's just the way that they body work. We have more estrogen, is not going to do it. Plus, you got to take a week off every month from all that hard working out anyway, and you know what I mean. So that's at least 12 weeks off in a whole year. 12 weeks is 3 months. So you can only consistently work out about 9 months out of any year. You'll never be that big. Anyway. Thank you, Sin City. Said these women want to live without the pecking order of the Most High. We are here to keep them balanced and thinking irrational, but they claim we are not needed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Frederick, for gifting a Crimson Cure membership. And for those who ever received that membership, welcome.
But now you have been promoted. You are now one of my elite employees.
And thank you so much, WII, Warp. That inferiority complex is why they fight so hard for deletions, which is true. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for rocking with me. All right. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host of The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.